In the hushed hours before dawn, inside a
Please.
bleak prison room where time
Just tell
itself
them I
seemed to
love
hold
them.
its breath, a woman dressed in an orange inmate uniform made a final request no one expected. She didn't ask for a final meal. She didn't ask to see her relatives. In a barely audible voice, she said only one thing: "I want to see my dog." One last time. The guards froze. The warden frowned, confused. "A dog? Now? Why?" he asked. But the tremor in her voice, the raw fear and longing behind it, unsettled him. After a long pause, he agreed. None of them could have imagined that this single request would unravel everything they believed to be true. When the German Shepherd was escorted into the room, the officers braced themselves for a quiet farewell. Tears, regret, a final embrace. Instead, the moment the dog saw her, the air shattered. What happened next plunged the room into chaos and exposed a truth the prison was not ready to confront. And from that moment on, nothing would ever be the same. Before we continue, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell me, where are you watching from? I love seeing how far these stories reach. Drop your country in the comments below. That morning, the prison corridors felt colder than usual, as though the concrete walls sensed what was coming. Guards walked softly, avoiding one another's eyes, their footsteps echoing like distant warnings. In the center of a shadowy room sat Elalina. Her face showed no rage, only deep exhaustion and sorrow. Fear had long since burned itself out. She had only hours left. When the warden asked if she had any last wishes, her answer stunned everyone. "I want to see my dog," she whispered. "No food, no clergy, no family, just her dog." The guards exchanged uneasy looks. The request was unusual, even unsettling. Some dismissed it as pointless, but the warden noticed her clenched hands, the way her shoulders trembled, and finally gave a slow nod. For Elalina, the dog was more than a companion. He was the only being who had ever loved her without conditions, the only one who stayed through the darkest nights, when the world had already turned its back. As preparations were made, no one suspected that this moment would expose the lie behind her conviction, or that the dog's reaction would shake the prison to its core. The heavy metal door creaked open as officers led the German Shepherd inside. His claws clicked against the floor, his movements tense and alert. The instant Elalina heard him, she lifted her head, her breath hitching, hope and heartbreak colliding in her eyes. But before she could say his name, everything shifted. The dog stopped dead. His ears snapped forward. His body stiffened. His gaze locked onto her, not with calm recognition, but with fierce urgency. Then, without warning, he lunged. Not at her, but directly between her and the guards. He planted himself like a barrier, releasing a deep, vibrating growl that sent a chill through everyone in the room. Hands flew toward holsters. The warden raised his arm. "Hold," he said sharply. The dog refused to calm down. He barked aggressively at the nearest guard, then circled Elalina, whining, pressing against her legs as if shielding her from an unseen threat. Tears spilled down Elalina's face. "He knows me," she whispered, but the warden felt his stomach tighten. This wasn't recognition. Something was wrong, terribly wrong, and the dog sensed it before anyone else. Silence gripped the room as the German Shepherd paced, rigid and alert. Every few seconds, he stopped to glare at one of the officers, letting out a low warning growl. This wasn't rage. It was instinct, protection. The warden stepped closer. "Has he ever acted like this?" he asked quietly. Elalina shook her head. "Never. He's gentle. Always has been. If he's reacting like this, something's wrong." The guards shifted nervously. Dogs could detect what humans missed: fear, deceit, danger. And this dog seemed to sense all three. When one officer moved forward to resecure Elalina's restraints, the dog snapped, barking so violently the man recoiled. "Control that animal," the guard shouted. But the warden didn't move. He watched how the dog pressed against Evelina's knees, trembling, not defiant, but terrified. Not of her. For her. Doubt crept into the warden's mind. What if they were about to make a terrible mistake? Evelina broke. As the dog leaned into her, refusing to leave, her last defenses collapsed. Her voice cracked. "I didn't kill him," she whispered. The room stiffened. "Then why did you confess?" the warden asked gently. Her hands shook as she stroked the dog's fur. "They threatened him," she said. "They told me if I didn't take the blame, they'd put him down." Tears fell onto his back. "He was all I had. I couldn't let them hurt him." Silence crushed the room. One officer scoffed. "Why believe her now? She had a trial." The dog answered. He lunged forward, barking furiously at that very officer, the same man who had handled critical evidence in her case. The warden's eyes narrowed. This wasn't random. "They framed me," Evelina said, her voice broken but steady. "I confessed to save him." The dog nudged her hand, whining softly, and in that moment the warden understood. This wasn't desperation. This was truth clawing its way out. "Bring me the case file," the warden ordered. Gasps rippled through the room. Questioning an execution at this stage was unheard of. But the file was brought. As the warden read, his expression darkened. Missing timestamps, a rushed investigation, the same officer's signature on nearly every key document. The dog growled again, advancing toward that officer, nose aimed at his vest. "Check his pocket," the warden said. A guard hesitated, then reached in and pulled out a keychain with a metal tag. Evelina gasped. "That belongs to the victim. It disappeared the night he died." The officer turned pale. "That's not mine," he stammered. The dog barked sharply, exposing the lie. The warden clenched his jaw. Hidden evidence. Corruption. A dog who refused to let the truth stay buried. "Stop everything," he commanded. "Halt the execution." Immediately, the room erupted. Evelina covered her mouth, shaking between disbelief and hope. The German shepherd barked triumphantly, as if declaring victory. Investigators arrived within the hour. Under pressure, the officer broke. The truth spilled out. Evelina had been framed to protect a corrupt scheme. By evening, the warden stood before her cell. "You're free," he said softly. "You never should have been here." Her legs gave out. The dog rushed to her, pressing his head to her chest, whining with relief. "You saved me," she whispered, burying her hands in his fur. Outside the prison gates, the sky burned gold as Evelina stepped into freedom, her dog walking proudly at her side. Reporters shouted questions, but she ignored them all. Her final wish hadn't been a farewell. It had been a beginning. And the true hero was the dog who changed everything.